Welcome to a Terrible Football Show, episode 51. I'm Alex Light with Sparky 3. Hope you're having an incredible day today. If you're watching this live alongside of us or checking out after the fact or listening after whatever, we appreciate the absolute hell of you. I got two of the boys here with me. Shane may pop in later. We'll see. He may try to pop in Discord later is what he told me, but I do have Jacob and Ricky. Boys, how we doing? How we feeling this very heavy heart Tuesday?
Yeah, it's been kind of dull all day. It just really has been. Prayers go out to the families. That is the last thing you expect when watching a football game, or in my case, I didn't watch the football game. I was telling Jacob before the show, I was actually watching a rerun of a TV show that I liked. To be exact, it was House, and it was on Peacock. And
Shout out to House on Peacock.
Shout out to House on Peacock. I can't get enough of it. It cracks me up. The show cracks me up. So I looked on the internet, saw the game was postponed, or it was in delay. So I thought, well, maybe they're having storms like we are in Arkansas. I don't know. And so it's about 9:15 or so. I was flipping. I decided, hey, let me just check out what the score is real quick, and I'll go to bed. And it was the same exact score. It was 7-3, and there was just this huge delay going. I had no idea what was going on, and all of a sudden, they were telling what was going on. I even looked on the internet to look at the hit that he took. Did not really see a huge hit. Didn't see anything illegal or anything like that. But it was just a complete and freak accident. I know that this is a football show, but this reminds me a lot of the Hank Gather story. If you're not familiar with the Hank Gather story, in 1989, Hank Gathers collapsed during the middle of a basketball game. And they come to find out he had an irregular heartbeat, which he was able to take medicine for. He was cleared to play by doctors. He finished the season out. He started the next season, kept going and going and going. And they were the WCC tournament, which he played for Loyola Marymount. He averaged over 30 points a game the 2 of the 3 seasons he was with them. Went up for an alley-oop, came back down, walked across half court, collapsed on the court. He was pronounced dead less than an hour later. And it's just one of those deals that you just don't expect to see something like this, because this is something that's so rare. And you just don't know what else. There's no words. There's not enough words I could say or anyone else could say. It's just the last thing you want to see in a football game. This is a violent sport. Everybody knows this is a violent sport. I've been on this show several times. I've criticized athletes before. The only person that I've really criticized personally, of course, is Deshaun Watson. Of course, y'all know my feelings on that. But I wouldn't wish this on anybody, including a guy like Deshaun Watson. This is just something. It was a freak accident, and I really hope that Damar Hamlin pulls through. I'm really pulling through. I'm praying for him. I've continued to pray for him and his family. And to be honest with you guys, and this is what I need to really get into a lot more. I didn't know hardly anything about this guy. A lot of this guy that was coming in, a lot of them was saying that he was probably going to be a second string at best. And he got his chance, at the I think it was week 2 or week 3 when he got his chance.
Yeah, because Micah went down.
To come on, because Micah Hyde went down. And he was the second leader in tackles on his team, even as a safety. That's that's really good. And he was trying to impact the world in a positive way. Didn't know anything about him, other than he went to Pitt. And I learned he's been having this toy drive going on for so long now.
Since college.
And since college, he does this toy drive to give toys to kids who are underprivileged. And within hours, I know as of like 2:00 this afternoon, he had like over $4 million raised because fans they started paying attention to who this guy was.
Now it's over
They
5
researched
million.
this guy, and it just clicks on the back of your mind on how something like this happens. People just come together like this, and it just shows how much they love it, how much they care for the sport. not just for the sport, but for the individual as well. And I'm guilty of it as well. I knew nothing about this guy. And no, I didn't donate to the toy drive yet or anything like that. That is something I am going to consider. Um, but I hope for a speedy recovery. I hope he's okay. The last update that I saw was that his vital signs were back to normal, but he's on a breathing tube.
Yep, and currently asleep
I
because
hope
of it.
I hope we get an update. And my prayer is that he recovers. Whether he plays football again or not doesn't matter.
Nope.
None of that matters. The football game doesn't matter. I don't give a damn if they decide to replay the game or if they decide to cancel the game, whatever the case may be. Last night, the NFL got it right. It was about a human being who is fighting for his life. And if his heartbeat stopped, technically he was dead. Let's just call it the way it was. He was dead on the football
He
field
was.
for a
I
little
don't.
while.
That can't be disputed at this point. He had no
And
pulse on the field.
and the and I am very proud of how these athletes came together, and they just came together and embraced each other, and it was just I don't know what else to say about it. I just know I'm praying for Damar Hamlin. I'm praying for his family. I'm going to try to get through the day as much or get through the rest of this night as much as I possibly can. I've got kids. I got to go coach in a little bit. Um, and so, and same with work. My work life must go on. Life must go on. And so, but I will be continuing to pray for Damar Hamlin and his family.
Jake,
Yeah,
what
I
about
agree
you?
with everything that you said, man. You couldn't have said it better. I mean, I was watching the game. I know, Alex, you were watching the game yesterday as well.
Yep.
Just when it happened, if you weren't paying attention to what exactly was happening on screen, you didn't realize that this guy collapsed until after the commercial break, because they instantly went to a commercial break and that was it. That's all we saw was just the commercials, and we went back and then we saw all the players just huddled around this guy on the field. And it's moments like this that take you, it puts you back, and it makes you think into the perspective of that, like you just said, Ricky, this is just a game. I mean, it's all for entertainment. These guys are still human beings. They're not invincible. Anything can happen at any point in time. And I think this is a good example. Just, step back and call the people that you care about and just tell them I love you, because you never know when some random event like this is going to happen. As far as the game itself goes, yeah, who gives a damn about that? I mean, there's one thing I won't agree with you on, Ricky, with what you said. I'm not giving any of the credibility to the NFL itself, because as far as my perspective went, and I think a lot of people's perspective went, if it was up to the NFL alone, they would have continued to try to play that game. I think the credit needs to be given to Sean McDermott and especially Zach Taylor, because those guys saw what their players were going through and themselves. I mean, you saw Sean McDermott, he was covering his face and he was just distraught, but he had to show, signs of strength and stuff for his team, because he's that type of coach. He's that type of leader. But, when Zach Taylor walked across the field and spoke with Sean McDermott, and even back in the tunnel when the players were still in their locker rooms, Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor hugged each other. Like these guys knew what was happening to their players mentally, and there was no possible way a game was going to be played last night without some type of update on Hamlin.
And even with that update, I don't think it would have happened. Because it's one thing for players to witness, a teammate of theirs have a terrible injury that could be like career ending. That's one thing. But like, let's say it's a career-ending injury, but they still get they're conscious and they give the thumbs up leaving the field. Or we have a situation of Ryan Shazier and his, what happened with him. Nick Collins for the Packers, what happened to him? Kevin Everett, what happened to him? That's all situations where players see this and they're obviously very concerned and it's on the mind. But the game goes on, and that's all terrible things to happen. You don't want to see that happen to a single player. But it's a different situation when you see what transpired last night of where CPR was having to be given on the field for like, X amount of minutes, and just the sense of urgency that was behind that medical staff at the stadium. It's a different vibe, man. I was watching that game, playing on my Switch, and I happened to look up I happened to look up when this tackle happened and he collapsed, and I'm just like, oh no, what's going on here? And then it's just I put my Switch down and just kept going and going and going. And Joe Buck relayed that they're giving CPR. You get to see the reactions around the field. The players shout out to them as well, forming basically a wall around what was happening, because, it was a situation of, basically we're not supposed to see what's happening. You know what I mean? So shout out to all the players on both sides of the field for that. And when it comes to who to give credit for, I mean, I'm definitely with the side of Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor. I've done a lot of rabbit hole digging today, trying to just learn every little piece of information I can, just kind of listening back to stuff last night. And it's tough to exactly speculate on some things, but basically, from what I have gathered from various sources like Ian Rappaport and, others, he was on Pat McAfee show today and kind of chat about it, and just also what was all chat about last night. The unfortunate fact about this game is that someone of power that works for the NFL, relayed that 5-minute thing last night. No one, they may know who it is now. Like as of right now at 5:52 Central Standard Time, they may know exactly who it is. But as of last night, that's what they were trying to figure out, because it's always a thing where these people in power, they can always try to express, that they feel so, upset about X happening, right? But then there's also, we as, people always want to maybe like, oh, do you actually feel bad because you would have continued this, no matter what? But in a situation of like, Troy Vincent, who's like the vice president of player relations or whatever, he's a former player, man. There's no way in hell that I'm going to doubt his words that he is unbelievably upset about what transpired, because that was something that Ian Rappaport talked about today, that he was on that conference call last night with Troy, and Troy was very visibly upset that who the fuck relayed 5 minutes restart, that shouldn't have happened. I don't doubt those words, him being a former player, of course. And, when it comes to a situation like this, man, it's a friendly reminder for everyone that the people that are out there playing this game that we like to watch, that we like to play fantasy with, that we like to bet on, that these are just people like me and you. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we as a society tend to forget that. You see it online all the time. You're making how much money? Shut up and play. You're making this much money? You see it all the time, man. But this was a friendly reminder that, these are people. You know what I mean? Because like when that 5-minute thing came, they showed on the broadcast of Joe attempting to warm up, but you could tell he was still, visibly distraught. I mean, Stephon Diggs in full-blown tears attempting to do a rally cry to get the team going. And that's, where we then get to see Zach Taylor kind of cross the field, and basically these coaches basically tell the NFL to kiss their ass. Because before there was even any clarification on what was happening officially from the NFL, you already could see they had it on the broadcast of the Buffalo sideline, their team loading up equipment. And, this is just something that we've never seen before. This has never happened, in the game of football. It's a violent sport, as we know. But this is something that we have never seen to this extent, and it shook up players, it shook up former players, it shook up fans. I mean, I can't imagine being a fan in that stadium last night, witnessing that. A player getting, like I said, man. I've seen some nasty injuries in sports at all levels. Let's not forget, the dude that had a bone literally snap out of his leg in college basketball. Is that Kevin Ware? I want to say Kevin Ware. We've seen some nasty injuries in football, basketball, hockey, the dude getting his neck slit, whatever, with the skate. I mean, we've seen some nasty things, but someone died last night. That thankfully, thanks to this team, they were able to get a pulse back in him and get him going again. Which finding more about from Ian today on Pat McAfee show. This is apparently a routine thing they do once or twice a year at every single stadium to go in there and make sure that basically everything's kind of good to go. And if CPR ever needs to be given, there's a doctor at every game, specialized for this. Like, the NFL apparently was already prepared for a situation like this and has been for a very long time. And thankfully, it's up until now, it's been a thing that's never had to be used. But obviously, we're glad that it was there to be used, because it saved a young kid's life last night, and that's a big deal. And man, I'm telling you, like this is probably, in terms of sports, this is probably the wildest situation I've ever seen in terms of sports. I was in disbelief for hours. I was in disbelief all day today, trying to figure out anything and everything that I could, any information. Shout out to his marketing rep for keeping people updated and going and doing a lot of interviews today, just keeping people updated. But even with the updates, he's made it very clear that, hey, we're not out of the woods yet, but vitals are back to normal, and that's the main thing. But we're not out of the woods yet. There's still a long road ahead. But man, just an absolutely insane situation. I know if you're watching this live or watching it after the fact or listening to the audio version, whatever, for today's episode, I don't have anything in the description except for his GoFundMe. Once he kind of gets up and going again and gets awake, I know it's going to probably bring a flood of emotions for him to get all that outcry and support. On that GoFundMe, it's already, like I said, crossed $5 million. So you want to show some support, it's a great way to do it. And man, it's just at a loss of words. It's at a loss of words. In terms of the game does not fucking matter. And also, like, in terms of it not mattering, man, even if that slim chance KC loses this weekend, I still say fuck the game. At this point in the season, it doesn't matter. Fuck the game, bro. I'm willing to bet you anything right now. Buffalo and Cincinnati both would be willing to just say, fuck it. Just say that the game, just avoid it, and we'll stay at the 2 and 3 seed. I bet even Cincinnati being at the 3 seed would be like, yeah, whatever. That doesn't fucking matter right now. Like, I'm willing to bet both teams would be like, I bet even Buffalo would be like, whatever, fucking knock us down to the 3 seed. Cincinnati we don't give a fuck. I'm willing to bet they do not care. Now granted, when it comes to this, the NFL taking the approach they did with the game not being postponed and not to be finished this week, let's be real. We know KC's going to beat the fucking brakes off of Vegas. Let's be honest on that. And if that happens, this game literally doesn't matter anyway. It really, really doesn't. But I'm willing to bet both sides really don't give a shit about finishing this game. And I'm sure any player around the league, on any team, if they were on this team, they would feel the same way. If the same thing happened to them, does not matter if seeding was. I feel like personally, if playoff implications was even on the line, let's say Green Bay, Detroit, good example, because that's a play-in game this weekend. I bet they wouldn't even give a shit because of this situation. This is unprecedented, man. Like, this doesn't happen. There's a young man fighting for his life. So, the game just does not matter. I'm seeing a lot of people say, telling the NFL to push everything back so this game can still be played. While that's, that's coming from a good place, that's very difficult to do.
That's not possible, especially
it's
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's there's too much to move, because the stadiums like the Super Bowl, SoFi, they probably have events booked right after the Super Bowl. So while that's a good sentiment and why it could potentially be possible, that's at the same time I don't think it's possible.
So here's the thing, though, gentlemen. It actually is possible because remember, there is a 1 week break in between the
Pro
NFC
Bowl, yeah.
AFC championship games and the Super Bowl. So yes, if they decided to postpone a week, it is very possible that they could do that.
Cancel the Pro
So
Bowl.
just
Yeah.
cancel
But
the Pro Bowl then at that point.
Which, who gives a shit about the
At
Pro
that
Bowl
point,
anyway?
Exactly.
no one cares about the Pro Bowl. I think this year they're
Unfortunate.
playing wiffle ball or something.
They're playing flag football and they're doing a bunch of
Flag-
contests.
And hey, flag football's fun to watch, but at the same time, it's like
Hey,
it's the Pro Bowl.
I'm
No one
here
gives
for
a
the
shit.
contest though. Those are always fun to watch.
They are fun to watch. They are fun to. Some of those contests are very fun to watch. And if listen, and of course, if I sounded like I was trying to give the NFL a bunch of credit early, that's not what my intention was. But I just said they got the part right as far as them postponing the game. Not getting, who gives a shit at this point. But yes, you guys did bring up a good point about the coaches, because yes, the coaches were the ones who basically, like you said, told the NFL to kiss their ass that they're not gonna finish the game. And I personally don't know, even as an official, I don't know if I would have been able to finish the game. But guys, I am gonna say this much, and this is where I can somewhat start agreeing a little bit more with some of the ticky-tacky calls that get called. As far as like in the NFL, like the rough and the passer. You look at some of the targeting calls that are called in the NCAA. When you're going at each other at 100 miles an hour, well, give or take, it's not really that much, but you know what I'm saying. And look, from a guy who has officiated high school and junior high football, these kids do not give a shit. they will knock the piss out of people and not give a damn in the world about it. This right here should come as a lesson that in football, there is a reason why rules are made. They're made so that way things like this are prevented. I'm not saying that anything like this could have been prevented, but there are situations where we have seen players just get waylaid and it be perfectly legal. So that's why there's got to be ways to teach these kids to be like, this is a violent sport. This is a privileged sport. This is not a right. That is a privilege for you to be able to play this sport. And we've got to be able to play it within the rules, the confines of the game. And yes, there have been research studies who have been done because we've noticed in the past, we've noticed players who have died from CTE because of the concussion protocols. That's why you have the concussion protocols in place. That's why, what's his name from Ohio State? That's why the medical team from Ohio State told him do not get back in the game, even though reports said he felt just fine. But that's why rules are in place, is to protect these athletes from any kind of further injury. I'll give you another example. You look in the wrestling business. There is a wrestler by the name of Brian Danielson is his real name,
Shout out to
who has
him.
had several concussions in his wrestling career. And wrestling is a sport. Yes, it is just, it's entertainment. But some of the hits, some of the slams they take, they're very, very real. That's why they have precautions now, even as such as an entertainment business like the WWE, not to just protect the brand itself, but to protect that wrestler's life. Because we have seen, even in the wrestling entertainment, we have seen freak accidents in the wrestling entertainment happen just before our very eyes, way back when, where there wasn't any of these type of protocols, and all of a sudden we have a death and things have to be changed. We want to see positive change to protect these athletes, and I think that's the one thing the NFL and the NFLPA really need to consider is maybe some of these rule changes, maybe we need to start teaching a new way on playing football, and they need to be an advocate for these young people. Because like I said, I have seen some kids get waylaid and not give a shit about it.
Yeah, so one of the things that you touched on was the officiating crew and how they felt during this. One report that did come out, Sean Smith, that was the head referee for last night, which, by the way, at least from what a lot of players and coaches have said, is one of the most humane and like heart-filled person when it comes to the game, because he's a former player as well. He was on record stating last night that the officiating crew was recommending that the game not be played at all. And this was before the coaches even said anything about, telling the NFL to fuck off, basically. So the fact that the officiating crew, who is, the voice for the NFL, the voice for New York when it comes to the game, was saying, nah, this should not be happening. That's just kudos to those guys and gals, because that's amazing that they were able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is just massive kudos to everyone that was there that basically shut this thing down. Again, the coaches, the referees that were involved, even the players, because the players have just as much say as anyone. They can say, fuck off. If you want to try to find me for not playing in this situation, try to find me. Fuck off.
Yep.
So I mean, it is kudos to everyone involved. I know immediately, once they decided the game wasn't happening, players started already, leaving the stadium and stuff. I know Stephon Diggs went to the hospital to be with his teammates, and man, it's just like I said earlier, it is the wildest situation that I've ever seen in sports. Never seen something like this happen before.
Hey, kudos to the fans too. When the game was officially announced that it was going to be canceled for the night, those players calmly and collectively just exited the stadium. No fights. I'm sure there was probably those dickhead people there that were like, oh, they should just go ahead and play the game or whatever. Yeah. But the solid majority, probably 90+% of fans there, understood what was happening. They saw it on their phones and they were like, yeah, this game doesn't really matter anymore. We get it. They'll probably be compensated. I'm sure most of them don't even care if they're compensated for a canceled or postponed game. But The fact that they were just, very calm and collective with getting out of there was great. And then they started to show up at the hospital for him too, which was awesome. Both Bengals and Bills fans.
Yep. And Cincinnati fandom and fandoms around the league has been showing up, when it comes to GoFundMe. If you remember years ago, we had a situation of where Cincinnati helped push Buffalo to the playoffs. The Red Rocket, Andy Dalton getting that dub in week 17 against whoever it was. And in return, Buffalo donated an unbelievable amount of money to Andy's foundation just out of love. Like, hey, we're going to the playoffs for the first time, and God knows when. Shout out to Tyrod Taylor being the quarterback at the time. And now since then, we've seen the same thing. Even I saw where Andy Dalton has now donated a lot of money to that fundraiser as well. Just kind of paying it forward. It's strange how that comes full circle like that with these two teams. But, just hoping for the best, hoping for any sort of update that we can get at any point. Because trust me, I'm personally watching my phone, watching Twitter consistently, waiting for literally any sort of update. Every single team around the league has changed their profile picture and support. Just hoping thoughts and prayers that we get the best possible outcome for this. Like I said, like also to touch on what Ricky said earlier, at this point, man, it doesn't even matter if he plays again. It doesn't. This is life or death situation. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, he would love to play again, but at the same time, I think he would love to have his life more. I think we all would. So that's all that matters right now is just that everything comes out well. Vitals being good. That's the last major update that we got. And I'm just going to keep on, keeping on and trying to stay as positive as we can. Also off topic of sports, but still another tragic situation that kind of throw out there for T's and P's since we're on the topic of T's and P's. Big T's and P's as well to Jeremy Renner. He had a really terrible and almost, oh my God, gruesome sounding accident with a snowplow. His leg got destroyed by a snowplow, lost an unbelievable amount of blood. And thankfully his doctor, his neighbor happened to be a doctor and got that taken care of in time for him to, for him to get airlifted. And he's been in critical care ever since. But, while we're on the topic of T's and P's to Jeremy Renner as well. More information's coming out on that one too, because I think everyone's question, which is a very fair question, is how the hell does that happen? You know what I mean? It's a big ass snowplow. How does it apparently tipped over or something? Apparently he was helping out a neighbor with a buried car or something like that. Is the story that came out within the last hour, and just the accident happened.
Yeah, and those snowcat plows.
Yeah,
those are the industrial.
Yeah, that's
plows.
the one that he had too.
Supposed to have. They are supposed to have safety regulations preventing them from tipping.
Yep.
So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and there could be a potential class action lawsuit against them.
Yeah, no, that's true. That I didn't know what size we were talking about here of snowplow. I've never seen a snowplow in my lifetime. Obviously, I'm in freaking Arkansas. So I started seeing it.
I was just about to say, Alex knows more about not Alex, but Jacob knows more about this shit than we do.
I saw.
Have you seen what they look like?
Yeah,
though? Have
yeah.
you seen what
once the stories were confirmed that it was a snowcat, someone was sharing pictures. I'm like, that's what his leg stuck under.
Tank tread.
Our Arkansas snowplows consist of one or two things: a tractor or a dump truck with one of those little scoop things in front of it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. But big T's and P's to Jeremy Renner and big T's and P's to Damar Hamlin, man. It's just tragic. It really is. Like I said, nothing's in the description for this episode. Just as GoFundMe if you want to show some support. I know whenever he gets going again, it's gonna be an overwhelming amount of emotion, because I know one thing listening to his marketing rep, I talked today, he got on he was on the Pat McAfee show as well. Damar just hit him up recently. He's like, hey, we got to get some sponsors lined up for the drives over the summer. And his marketing rep's like, well, we don't need the sponsors now. After what's happened with that GoFundMe, we don't need the sponsors now. And his name's Jordan, and Jordan talked about how he's just very excited for Damar to be able to see what that GoFundMe is at right now. But
I think the thing that really hit home for me with this whole situation, I'm a mama's boy. I love my mama so much, more than almost anybody else. I love my mom and dad with so much. And I was scrolling on Twitter trying to find news about just updates and stuff about this whole situation. And then I come across a video right before the game. Damar was hugging his mama.
Yeah.
And that made me tear up so much because I can only imagine what is still going on through her mind right now, that she nearly lost her baby boy. And the man is 24 years old. I'm 24 years old. I just like I can't fathom what is going on through everyone's minds right now, or just even last night especially.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the video that you're talking about as well, from like other games and stuff like this. And this game where he went up to the sideline where his mom was, and his mom rode in the ambulance with him to the hospital. And, you're right. I can't imagine the thoughts going through the head there. I really can't. So I don't know, man.
And I think this is one thing that I think I could learn a lesson from is, even though I don't, obviously I don't know Damar Hamlin personally or
Right.
anything like that, but I know more about him now than I did just because, something tragically happened to him. And that's, maybe I should start looking up on some of my favorite teams. Maybe I should start looking up some more on some of the things that they do as far as like, uh, charity work that they do,
Yeah.
the simple things, to understand them and learn a little bit more about them from a human aspect instead of just someone that goes out there and plays football. I'm very guilty of that because I could sit here and tell you statistically, some of these players, the way where they rank at in the league, sometimes where they, what they do on any given deal. I used to go to church with a lady. I went to church with her for years, and she is the piano player. She's still the piano player at the same church at my last church. Has been for years. She's probably, if she's not in her 80s by now, she probably is. But there was no. I've always known her to be Miss Linda. Miss Linda Wilson is her name. Miss Linda, the piano player. Um, I've known her personally over the years. I was in the youth group with her granddaughter Morgan, and Megan. I know all about her family. But I didn't actually know her personally. I didn't know her to a personal extent other than what I've seen around the church. Then, of course, I'll see her outside the church. I know she's a sweet lady, everything like that. But one thing I found out about her, one of the most interesting things that I found out about her, she's not just an Arkansas Razorback basketball fan. She doesn't watch football as much. But as far as basketball goes, she knows every single player's name. She knows where they're from. She can tell you statistics and facts about them personally that either of us probably wouldn't have even known. And that's how close she follows. That's how big of a fan she is with them. She didn't just want to know how they perform on the court. And she has become like, you would not know that about her just by going up to her and talking to her. She's one of the sweetest ladies I've ever met in my entire life. But yeah, her daughter, who I've known for years, both of her kids went to school with my brother. Well, one of them went to school with my brother. Um, she's the one that was telling me about this. And she'd be like, yeah, she'll just get on the TV and start cheering them on and all this. And I'm like, Miss Linda? And so that's just where I just come from. It's like we didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about this guy until this tragic accident. And then I started doing some research on the guy, and I'm guilty of that. And that's just the one thing I think we all need to learn from, is that sometimes we focus too much, like you said earlier, Alex, we focus a little too much on the football side and not the human aspect of it. Like, oh, you're getting paid this much amount of money, just shut up and play. And that is I've been mistakenly on my part. I've even done that to a certain extent. Oh, you're a quarterback getting paid $50 million. You have nothing to worry about. No, they're human. They go through struggles. I mean, maybe not financially, but personally, mentally, um, and even physically, they go through the same aspects that you and I go through on a day-to-day basis. There are players right now who have played in the past. Mike Golick is one of them.
Yep.
Whenever he was with on Mike and Mike in the morning, one of the stories I heard from Mike Greeny is what he calls him. One thing I heard from him, is that he looks at the other Mike Goldberg, and he's like, I look at you and I see you limping every single day because of what he did during his career. A lot of these players, that's what they're going to do the rest of their life. They're putting their bodies on the line. And I know they have other options to go out and be a lawyer, be a doctor, things like that. But some of these athletes, that's all they know. And they know without a doubt, you know what? If I play 4 or 5 years in this league, I'm set for life. If I play 4 or 5 years in this league, my family is set for life. And that's just kind of the phase that I'm like, that I need to get out of, instead of saying, oh man, you're getting paid $40 million to play a game. Man, no. I need to be in that little aspect to where I'm looking at that player getting paid 40 or 50 million. Good for you, man. I'm glad you're getting that money, and I'm glad your family's going to be taken care of the rest of your life.
And one thing I want to add on with this as well that you were chatting about is, you're right. A lot of us get too focused on the player side of things and not on the person. And I think everyone can be guilty of that at pretty much almost all levels. At one point in my life, I was so dialed in to like the Bears roster, I could name literally every random player, practice squad and all. And I've kind of fallen off of that, the past few years. And I feel like this whole event with Damar Hamlin, I feel like as someone who, started a majority of this year, was playing some pretty decent ball, got his opportunity. But, I feel like if you're not a Buffalo fan, you may have not have heard his name. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate, especially because of the stuff that he does outside of the game. So, for whatever team you like, whatever team you follow, I feel like this is a good opportunity to learn your team a little bit better, learn the players that represent the organization that you love so much, you know what I mean? Or represent the program that you love so much, take that opportunity to kind of learn who these people are, and just kind of appreciate them for people more than players. And Steve and Chad are here in the chat. How are you guys? Steve did ask, did you see the backlash that Skip got from his tweet? I did. I feel like everyone probably did. That was
I'm going to go ahead and can I touch on that just for a second?
I feel like I know what you're going to touch on. Go ahead.
So, guys, I think a lot of people were very misconceptive on what he tried to say. And I think from a journalistic point of view, a lot of us don't really look at the journalistic point of view, because if you're like me, I just see what I see in front. I don't think he was trying to be disrespectful as far as disrespecting as respecting Damar Hamlin. I think what he was trying to get at is nothing else matters except for this kid's life. Because here's the one thing that I learned something from Skip Bayless today whenever I heard, because I was listening to some of the clips that he was talking with today on the ride home. One of the things that he witnessed in his lifetime was the JFK assassination. What did the NFL do after the JFK assassination? The JFK assassination happened on a Friday, and they resumed football that Sunday. And he has seen that's kind of where he was trying to get at before, is that he wasn't necessarily trying to disrespect anybody, but he was basically kind of saying in a way that he's shocked that the NFL would do this, and that in a lot of ways he was glad that they're not doing this because nothing else matters but this guy's life. That's the way I read it. And I know some people misread it. I know Skip. I love Skip Bayless I love Skip Bayless as a journalist. He's one of those guys that could go off in left field on one of the craziest things that you would ever see in your entire life. But just from what I've seen, just because I listen to him quite a bit, from time to time, quite a bit actually. I know how Skip Bayless is, and he's one of those guys. If he comes off like that, he did not mean to come off like that. I don't think he meant it in any harmful way. And of course, I know he tried to apologize, but no one's taking an apology. But you've got to be very careful on what you say, even when you're a journalist. You got to be very careful on what you say.
No one's accepting his apology, because this has happened before in the past with him. For an example, when Dak Prescott's brother died, he had some tone deaf tweets that he said. Even he said some stuff on air that he should not have said about how Dak was handling it. and he tried to apologize for that, and it's just empty apologies from him. I have stated multiple times. I've even tweeted at him multiple times on Twitter
Bet you have. I want to read them too.
that he, in my mind, is not a Cowboys fan. He's not a football fan. He is a despicable person that needs to be fired and blacklisted. I agree with the people that are calling for him to be fired, because enough's enough. This isn't just one time of him doing this type of stuff where he's quote unquote being taken out of context. This is multiple times over the years where he's done shit like this.
So one thing, Alex, that I want to touch base with. So one thing, Jacob, and like I said, I'm not saying that you're right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. But I will say this much. Look where, so if you know the background of Skip Bayless like I do, one of the things the background was of Skip Bayless, he grew up basically in a hard-nosed family. Like that was the way things were going to be. Him and his father never really saw eye to eye. Even to this day, he says him and his brother have no relationship whatsoever. But that's the way that he has just kind of personed himself as growing up. That's the way that he has built up himself in his life. One of the things that he first told his wife, whenever they first met, the very first date, he told his wife, who is a very beautiful woman, by the way, he said, "You will always come second to my career," because he loves his career so much. He's just a hard-nosed guy. And I'm not saying that you're wrong for calling him out. I'm not saying that you're wrong for feeling the way that you feel about him. But what I am trying to say is I think the ones who looked at it that way sort of took it just a little too far, because I did not see it that way. I saw it as a mockery for the NFL more than I did anything, because like I said, one of the things I learned from Skip Bayless today, the JFK assassination, they played football that Sunday. And there are some things, like you said, there are just some people, they handle things a lot different. Speaking of deaths, I had a friend of mine, a coworker of mine, he really wasn't a friend, I had a coworker of mine a few years back. He lost his mother one night. He was back at work the next day. Not because he wasn't mourning, but because what else was he going to do while sitting at home? So there are some people that are just like that. And I don't know if he should be fired. I don't think he should be even if he was blacklisted, guys, he's always going to be able to do something. He's made enough money in his career where he can do whatever he wants to. But there are just some people, Jacob, that are just like that. And to me, he's even softer now than what he's ever been. And now his wife is not considered his number two. He's considered the number one thing in his life. And so, like I said, I'm not saying you're wrong, because you were definitely entitled to your opinion on that situation. Just me personally, I don't think he meant it that way. And I know he's got a past, but that's just how he is. That's how he was raised. He's just this hard-nosed guy, and he's straight and to the point.
See, I get that, but I don't think that should be an excuse for him, because when you're a mega TV, especially in the sports world, when you're a mega persona within a certain realm, there's some things that just shouldn't come to the surface. You have to set standards with how you put yourself forward when it comes to being on air, being in front of millions. Because even on Twitter, I mean, it's just really distasteful. I mean, whether or not he meant it or not, I mean,
I agree. Yeah. But here's the thing:
if he didn't mean it, people still took it that way.
True.
And that tweet should have never even come out.
I will agree with that part, but I'm saying to you, that was a mockery toward the NFL, because of some of the things the NFL has done in the past. Because like I will tell you this much: 20 years ago, we're not postponing shit. That game's getting played, and you and I both know I'm right on that. And so
I would say you're right. I think 20 years ago it would have been played, unfortunately.
The way I read that tweet, it was a mockery on the NFL's part. It had nothing to do with him saying, "Oh, they should keep on playing." That's not what he was saying.
So, also shout out to Shane, who's now in the chat. Shane, I'll get to you in a moment. I do apologize. You came into a very deep conversation right now, so we haven't had a chance to get to
Conversation.
you.
Dun dun dun
But
dun.
when it comes to Skip, I'm in the boat that I'm not a fan of him. I've never been a fan of him. I think like what Jacob said, I think he's very tone deaf. But I will say, reading that tweet, my brain processed that tweet personally as a mockery of the NFL. That's how my brain read it. That's just how even though I think it was horribly tone deaf and that should have never come out because he worded it so damn wrong, so poorly. That was a horrible tweet. That should have stayed in your drafts, homie. But like, I do think that was a mockery at the NFL more than anything. I just think I think he just worded that horribly wrong. I don't like him. I think I get why people would like him, with some of his takes and stuff. I do get it. He really brings a lot to the table, really to stir up controversy. I mean, he's got a damn debate show. It's like what Chad just threw in the chat a few minutes ago. He did his co-host bad last week. I don't think that was, and if you're referring to what I think you're referring to, that was a couple weeks ago with Shannon Sharp, where he basically told Shannon about how like Tom Brady's better than Shannon because Tom Brady's played longer, and Shannon took that really personally, which also shout out to Shannon not even being on Undisputed this morning. But when it came to that, I just think that particular tweet was just unbelievably tone deaf, is what I think it was. I think it was a mockery at the NFL. I think it was just very horribly worded, and that should not have ever come out. And I don't blame a single person for not taking his apology seriously because Jacob also brings a point. We see this a lot. It is unfortunately just how he is. I don't want to sit here and think that any of it's like very hard intentional or it's just how he is. But it's also not an excuse. I'm in that boat. I'm not trying to excuse any of it. I'm just like my brain process like, okay, well that's just how he is. So I'm just not going to follow him so I don't have to see it because I don't like it. But Shane, how are you? How are you feeling? How you doing? Glad you could pop in, assuming that you are here right now.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just tired of shit from work, but
Okay.
I do want to chime in on this. So I'll put it.
Please
this
do,
way.
because I also want your thoughts on just everything from last night as well. So
Yeah, so I'll put it this way. For one, I mean, given a lot of people in this world right now with everything that's happened in the last, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, um, people don't understand that as a human being, as a race, we have a responsibility to not be ignorant. And that's what I saw from Skip Bayless, ignorance.
right.
It's not a realization of not. I mean, I agree with both Ricky and Jacob. I believe that he wasn't meaning to demean Damar Hamlin's life, right? Because at the end of the day, the NFL was not the one that canceled this game.
Yeah, it was the teams, the players, and coaches.
It was the teams and coaches that said, no, we are not going back out there. We're going to focus on this man's life. That's what it should have been about. Roger Goodell should have been the one to make that decision, but he's not. He said, y'all have got 5 minutes to warm up. Y'all need to go back out there and play. It was the coaches and players that said, no, fuck you. We're going to focus on this man's life because that's what's important right now. So, yes, I agree that maybe Skip was not paying attention, didn't read over his tweet, and it was perceived the wrong way. But, again, on Jacob's behalf, he has a track record of not rereading his fucking tweets and getting backlash on what's going on. And to me, that's ignorance. That's not having the ability to be like, I am a person with a platform. Maybe I should reread this to where I can make sure that my point of view, that I'm not disrespecting this man's life, is taken the wrong way. Because everybody knows anybody with a platform, anybody famous, anything like that is going to be nitpicked by everybody that's on Twitter. It's a given. If you say anything in a fucking press conference, you're going to be nitpicked. So he should have known that responsibility to do that, but he did not. So I agree. He's probably not this ill will guy that's like, yeah, his life didn't matter, because that's completely. I mean, I can't imagine a person that could do that. But I mean, we know what kind of people are out there in the world. But I mean, so I'll just say that I'll give him some slack on that. I don't think he's that type of person, but he does have a track record of not fucking paying attention pretty much. And as far as what happened with Damar Hamlin, um, it's hard.
In shock.
I didn't watch it live, and haven't even seen what happened. I don't want to see what happened. Just hearing, as far as a medical
Shane,
standpoint, of
I'll
where
tell
it's-
you up front, man, it's the most standard routine tackle that you'll see 100 times a
Yep.
game. There was nothing sus about it, because I watched the tackle happen live. I was playing my Switch watching the game, and I happened to look up and see the tackle happen. I watched him pop up. I watched him adjust his face mask and then just collapse. Like it truly did come out of nowhere. It was nothing suspicious.
Yeah. So medically, what happened? I saw some tweets from some proclaimed doctors, and I did research into it. It was a very rare condition called like cardio or something like that.
Yeah, shout out to Becca. She
So-
put that in the chat earlier, and I meant to shout it out, but we were so deep into a conversation. But she also put that out earlier.
So basically, what happens is every normal heart has a basic rhythm that it goes through every function in order to pump blood to the body, right?
Yep.
So on the back end of that function, it has like an upbeat, and it's literally a fraction of a second. So in that fraction of a second of it getting ready, of it being still to get ready to start the process over again, he got hit in the chest, and that caused his heart to basically be in an arrhythmia and stop. So literally, by the time he hit him to tackle him, brought him to the ground and stood up, for that second and a half, 2 seconds, his heart was actually not beating. So when he stood up, and the reason why he fainted was because he had no blood pumping through his body. And it's a very rare thing that happened, because, like I said, it takes so much of a precise hit on that area of the heart, and as well, it has to happen in such a quick millisecond that it's very rare. So I mean, it's literally, from a medical standpoint, like, blows my mind. But then again, I mean, we see what kind of illnesses are out there. That's rare and crazy. But I mean, the only thing I can say is, I mean, just prayers for him and his family. Uh, I don't think anything should be done as far as football wise until we know he's okay.
And even then, I don't think it should for this particular game. I know that you were busy getting on, but we chatted about that earlier. That really, if we want to get down and technical, this game probably doesn't matter anyway. I don't see a reason why Kansas City would lose to Vegas this weekend. I just don't. So if KC wins this weekend, this game does not matter at all. When we chatted about it earlier, Shane, one thing that I threw out there when it came to this game, because obviously a lot of people want to immediately turn to playoff seedings and stuff. They don't give a fuck about that right now. No one in either organization. The way that I put it earlier, I'm willing to bet both organizations would be fine taking the seeding where they are, because obviously, whoever's getting the fourth isn't going to be higher based on their record. We already know that. Shout out to Jacksonville. They're going to get that dub this weekend. But, I feel like both organizations would just say, fuck it, we're fine with where we are. I feel like even to take it a step further, I feel like even Buffalo would be like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. Count it as a loss for us. We'll take the 3 seed, whatever. We don't care. We're focused on him. We're not focused on anything else. That's just how I feel like both organizations play this. Because if I was in some sort of head form of these organizations, that's what my mindset would be. is that whatever 2-3 seed. I don't give a shit. All I care about right now is Damar. That's the only thing that my mind's on. So, in terms of the game, I just don't think anyone cares right now. Like the two organizations, and like what you're saying, I just don't think anyone. I just don't think it matters. I really don't. None of us do. No one here in this show, no one in the community, no one across the league. No one thinks this game matters. For the people that do, get your head out of your ass. If there is someone that is like, let's say you're listening to this show right now, and you think this game actually matters, feel free to go ahead and just leave my content. I don't care that I'm small. I have no problem getting people out of my getting people away from my content if they have like some really dumbass take like that. I just don't care. I'm gonna keep doing my thing. We're gonna keep doing our thing. It's all good. Like, this game doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just a shocking thing. Update. Here we go.
Update. As of 49 minutes ago, Damar Hamlin's uncle has said that Damar is down to 50% oxygen. He was on 100% oxygen when he obviously arrived to the hospital. 50% oxygen, so getting more and more able to breathe on his own versus...
Hey, that's what we want to hear.
Good news.
That's what we want to hear. Let's go, baby.
That's right.
You got it, Damar. Let's get it, baby.
Pull through, my man.
Yeah,
Pull through, my man.
That Pittsburgh grit, baby. Let's go. Hey, that's good news. That's good news. Because he was completely unable to breathe on his own. So him getting it, they're bumping it down to 50% oxygen right now. We're getting closer and closer.
Yeah, so I'm reading a little bit more into it. Room air oxygen is about 21%, so he's very, very close to just being taken off the ventilator completely.
Good.
That's good. That's really good. Yep. Usually that's good. That's a good sign right there. That's
so
a good
hopefully
sign.
they're projecting. Hopefully, if everything goes good, by tomorrow he'll be breathing completely on his own. So. Great.
It didn't say anything if he was awake and aware or anything like that.
Doesn't say if he was awake or aware or anything, but I mean, just the fact that he's able to start breathing on his own. I mean, progress is progress,
That's
especially
progress,
especially this right here. That's great.
So the good news is that maybe, just maybe, there wasn't much brain damage done. Because that was the one thing that some of these doctors, like you said, that have come up. I've seen a couple of them myself.
Yeah.
One of the things is every minute counts when your heart stops beating. And one of the things they question is how long was it till they actually got a heartbeat going? Because they said every little second matters, and hopefully there was no brain damage done. If it was, hopefully it's minimum damage to where he'll be able to walk again and talk again and all that kind of stuff. Because that's what really matters as well, is will he be able to function? Will he be able to function again? The fact that we're getting this good news is amazing.
Yep, it does. It has been said that he did receive a broken rib because of how aggressive the CPR was last night. Because that was, a lot of the players were saying that was unlike any CPR they've ever seen before in their life. They were literally pounding on his chest during the CPR, during the resuscitation.
Go ahead, Shane.
I mean, the reason why that is because on the field, like I said, by the time he hit him, right at the exact moment he went to go tackle, it was T. Higgins, right?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. So the second he went to go tackle T. Higgins, the second he made contact with him, his heart stopped. So at that point, the clock started, right? Because I mean, you only have a certain amount of time and the best window in order for CPR to be, have the best percentage of working to get the heart started back again. And so by the time he hit him, tackled him, and stood up, and then passed out again, and then also time for people to get over there, I mean, I'm sure, like I said, I haven't watched it, so I'm not sure what medical attention as far as taking off his pads and things like that. I mean, they would have had to do, if I'm guessing, they would have said fuck it and just done CPR through his pads and everything.
I'm willing to bet they cut his jersey and just cut the pads and just had to do what they had to do, because none of that, there's nothing that we can see, because one thing that also came out of this we chatted about earlier is how like the players for both sidelines basically formed a wall around what was happening. So we have no actual visual of that, but I'd be willing to bet they just cut his jersey up.
And speaking of T. Higgins, I really, really, really hope he does not feel any sort of guilt or blame or anything from this situation.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't his fault.
There was pictures and video of him leaving with his mom, and his arm was wrapped around her. He was just bawling his eyes out, and I just hope that he knows that none of this was his fault in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I'll go ahead and say this much as well. This is why J.J. Watt is ready to retire.
Yep.
This is why,
Andrew Luck
however you
retired
pronounce
earlier.
Tom Brady, however you pronounce Tom Brady's ex-wife, this is
Jalise.
why she wanted him to retire. There is nothing else either one of them can do in this league. They have enough money to retire on. Money's definitely not an issue. I understand the love of the game and everything like that, but this is why the families and you get into this, you make your money and you get out as quick as you possibly can, because there is life after football. And well, at least that's what we're hoping for. We hope that there is life after football. You doing something somewhere, whether it's football related or not football related. That's what the hope is. And this is the worst fear on any fan, any family member, or even even the player itself. Because sometimes the players, they don't have that kind of fear usually. But this is why you see some players like Andrew Luck just get out of it. It's not worth it anymore. Of course, it's just not worth it. Get out when you can. You made your money. Get out. Live your life. Life is too short. It's just way too short to be playing football for the rest of your life. It's just way too short.
I agree to that 100%. We're in an age right now where we're seeing players retire earlier and earlier. I mean, and it's because of stuff like this. If we want to talk about great players who retired early just because of they made their money, they didn't want to continue to risk their health, I'll give you 3 right now. Patrick Willis, Luke Kuechly, Andrew Luck. Right off the bat, 3 Pro Bowl, 3 All-Pro players that I think Patrick Willis he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but I think he's been nominated, right? Or am I wrong on this? I know he's been nominated, but I don't know if he's in yet.
I think you're right as well.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up.
So, I agree with players making their money and try to get out. Steve asked, "Is there a mature language filter on?" I'll start. If there is, there's a mature language filter on YouTube, I don't know about it. So I'll dig into that later and try to turn it off for you, because I don't know if it is. I'll be honest with you. That's something I'm gonna have to look at later. Don't want to dig into it now, but if there is a cursing filter, if there's a language filter on YouTube chat right now, I do apologize, because I did not know that was there. But no, that is great news though, to hear that he's getting more oxygen on his own. And like we already touched on it, it does not matter if he plays again. While that would be awesome to see, it'd be a hell of a comeback story. Right now it's just about him and his life and getting his life back on track. That's what matters at the end of the day, man, because this is just a game. I know it's a dream for a lot of people and a privilege, like what Ricky said, and an honor. But at the end of the day, it is just a game. And seeing these players retire earlier, kudos to them. I don't think for the fans, they get upset when a player retires early, like a good player on their team retires at 8 years in or whatever. I think it's honestly low key despicable. I still, granted, while he's personally admitted fault that he only regrets the timing of his retirement, I think Andrew Luck's retirement, I think how that was handled was despicable from the fans, how he was booed off the field. It was timing is what everyone bitched about, but at the same time, man, it's like, think about what he's already done in just a few years that he's been there. He took that team around from what were they, like 2-14 or 1-15, and took them to a playoff team at 10-6 in his first year. It's like, man, we need to remember these are people. That is the thing. We need to remember that these are people. They're not just slots on your fantasy team. Shout out to Shane for beating me in fantasy. Of course, the one random time all year, Mike Evans had to put up like 70 fucking points. Just destroyed me.
That fucking pissed me off, because I lost because of Mike Evans.
Hey, me too, bud. destroyed me.
Speaking of the Colts, unfortunate injury for Nick Foles. I thought that was going to be the worst injury of the weekend, but obviously, thing happened with Damar Hamlin. But
you got to think, at what point does Nick Foles look to hang it up? I mean, I know he's making a nice.
I think it'll be now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's done.
I know he makes a nice check being a good, suitable backup around the league because I mean he's knowledgeable. He knows his shit. You know, I mean, he does, but at some point, like, you know, hey, every time you seem to get on the field now, you get pretty much hurt. Like, let's go and rack it.
For the love of God, suspend Kayvon Thibodeau for the playoffs.
Oh, oh my God, yeah, dude, that was unbelievable.
They didn't even throw a fucking flag.
Yeah, I saw that, man.
Like, what?
Yeah. Got Nick Foles down on the ground, injured and in pain, and here comes Thibodeau making snow angels right beside him. Just classless, bro.
And he was going like this on the sidelines.
Yeah.
He was doing the sleeper.
The CM Punk go to sleep.
Yeah. Like, that man deserves to be suspended for the playoffs.
Arrogant rookie, man. Arrogant rookie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Arrogant rookie.
Leave it to an Oregon player.
Oh, man. Oh, dude. No, again, just big T's and P's to, to Hamlin and everything and his family and friends and loved ones of the situation. Just, unlike anything we have ever seen before. And hopefully we never have to see this again. But, also one thing that we haven't touched on as much that needs to be touched on is obviously shout out to the medical staff and the first responders. I mean, we kind of touched on it, but I want to, further hammer it. Shout out to them for being as quick and responsive as they were. You know what I mean? And, while the NFL can take fault in a lot of ways in a lot of situations across every single season, shout out to the fact that the NFL routinely, preps for this, routinely has this prepared every game, where, we don't have to deal with a reaction. We were already ready to go, so there is a big, shout out to that. Cause it's one of those things where it's like, hearing it now, it's just like, okay, yeah, that makes sense that they would have that stuff ready, but I sure as shit didn't know they had that stuff ready, I mean, I didn't know that until it was confirmed that, they have a specialized doctor at every game for it. They do like 1 or 2 checks a year at every single stadium, preparing staff, preparing this, making sure all the equipment's good for CPR and stuff. Like, I didn't know that. It makes sense that you hear it. It's like, okay, I could see that, but didn't know about it. So, just shout out to the NFL for staying prepared for situations like this. So, again, this wasn't a worse situation where we would have a reaction to it to prepare for it. We were already prepared. So that's that is pretty sweet. It sounds like everything's going on the up and up, which is what we all want to hear. I'm just gonna keep on sending out T's and P's, sending out the good vibes and everything. Boys, I'll be honest, I really don't know where to go from here. I really don't, man. We obviously had a weekend of incredible games, but this situation just triumphs so much to me. I really don't know where to go from here. What do you guys want to do?
I did see it in chat. I did see it in chat. Here in a second. Oh, let me go back and find it here.
Was it from chat?
So I can see. It could have been, basically stating that why doesn't he have his agent or his publicist or something like that?
Oh yeah. Steve threw that out there. Yeah.
Kind of review what the fuck he's saying.
Yeah. Like where he would say, Skip, I think this is a bad idea.
Kind of, yeah, like, hey, you may want to check your wording on that again, like,
he should just get rid of Twitter in general.
Man, it gets him into some trouble.
I mean, that's just the thing. A lot of people, when President Trump was president, everybody just kept on going with him on Twitter, this, Twitter, that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are reasons why there are professionals who do not have Twitter and other social media platforms. Like my job themselves, they have told me straight up, don't do anything on social media because you are being watched, whether you're friends with someone or not. someone knows what you're putting on your Facebook or whatever social media platform you decide to choose. Watch your wording carefully.
So does that mean you're going to
'cause if-
stay hashtag Twitterless Ricky SE3?
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. However, I have created a Twitter account.
Okay.
I'm not using it yet,
Okay.
but eventually, I'm going to beef it up, and eventually I will.
Okay.
And we will get the Twitter thing going. And yeah, there's one thing. LinkedIn. I didn't know LinkedIn still existed until 2 weeks ago, man. That's just
Yeah, it's just heavy on the business side of things. That's it.
Yep.
it really is.
Yeah.
A coworker of mine, with Pepsi. She works for the one outside of Memphis and Collierville. Was telling me, hey, I'm on LinkedIn. You want to send me a message every now and then to catch up, whatever it is. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm like, that thing still exists. So yeah, I'm a little behind people. It's not that I'm clueless when it comes to some things on social media, just not everything on social media.
Right. Yeah. I've known about LinkedIn still being a thing for years just because of my last job and even this one, but it's such a niche thing. You know what I mean? It is strictly business related. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting there, but I will say Steve did throw in the chat something that I'm kind of leaning towards personally, is that he threw out there that I think the classy thing to do is not talk about football. Let's just focus on stay on support for and fight for it. That was honestly my mindset going into the show, honestly and truthfully. But I didn't get the chance to relay that because I was the one fashionably late today. These two were ready to go. I pulled in like 5:29. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm here. I'm sorry. So that's on me. That's on me. But I mean that's kind of my mindset, and it is unfortunate because like there's a lot of good topics, shout out to Jaguars having a big game this weekend, Jacob. Sorry,
Fuck
bud.
off.
Sorry, bud. There's a lot of there's a lot of conversations, but man, I'll go ahead and throw it out there as I pride myself big time on being a professional. I pride myself big time on being for the people. I pride myself big time on that when it comes to you guys and your personal lives and everything, charity efforts that, I've done before and looking to get back involved with. Shout out to that video. If you watched all the way through, I appreciate you. There's a lot of important information to me personally in that video for plans for this year, including my charity efforts. And, it's just coming into today, after last night, it's just there's not a lot of football that I guess really needs to be chatted about, in my mind. Because again, this is unprecedented. Literally, a man died on that field last night, and shout out to the first responders for getting that pulse back going. That's just the fact of what happened. This is unprecedented. So with that said, honestly, I say let's wrap up the show. We've talked about a lot here with Damar Hamlin. I don't think it's a bad thing for us to take a little vacation like that every once in a while for a shorter show. There is a lot of topics to chat about in the world of football. I know Chad wants to, definitely kind of poke the bear a little bit, but I just don't think talking football today is the play. We're a terrible football show, but I don't think we're that terrible. I think we're, definitely wanting to send the good vibes to Damar Hamlin, hence why, I don't want to promote us. I don't want to promote anything that we do. It's why I don't have anything else in our description but his GoFundMe to show support because, it's going to mean a lot to him whenever he's fully conscious and up and going. But in my mind, I say let's end the show. Don't even do picks. Do our picks on our own time. Just go ahead and submit it after the show. Let's not focus this episode here today on football. Let's focus it on just good vibes for everyone involved, teammates, coaches, facility members, his own, everyone. Let's just focus on the good vibes there. And also, since, we're sending out the good vibes, I sent it out earlier, obviously T's and P's and good vibes for Jeremy Renner in that situation because, man, does that sound gruesome as shit. And I hope he makes a solid recovery on that. I don't know if he is. I'll be honest. I think he might lose a leg. That sounds brutal.
He also posted an update to his Twitter account.
Jeremy himself did?
Jeremy himself
or a
did.
rep
He
did.
posted he himself.
Okay.
He posted a picture as well.
Okay.
I will post that in the Discord under the general.
Okay.
But man looks like a wreck. But
hey, it's good. Hey, he's awake though. That's the thing.
He's awake and alive. That's all that matters.
Love to see it. Love to see it. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's get it.
Positive
good
news
vibes.
all around.
Good vibes. That's all we want right now is good vibes.
Let's also not forget T's and P's for the Kim Block family.
Yes.
For sure.
Yep. Just lots of T's and B's today, boys. Lots of T's and P's, lots of good vibes being sent everywhere. Like I said, we'll make all of our own picks on our own time. It's all good. If you're in our Run Your Pool, you can check our picks there. Shout out to Duval. Let's get that dub this weekend, baby. But other than that, I say let's wrap up the show. I'm going to hit the music, okay? We'll get out of here. We'll end the show early. I don't think anyone has a beef with that. Nice time to just go out and get some food, relax, kind of decompress, continue to process everything that's happening. As I'm still personally processing everything. I'm glad we've gotten some good news just here during this show. So let's hit the music. Boys, music's playing. Last thoughts. Let's get out of here.
Just T's and P's all around.
100%. Jacob, Shane, you guys got anything?
Nope. I'm just gonna reiterate T's and P's. Go check out the GoFundMe. Go support Hamlin any way that you can. Again, thoughts and prayers not only out to him and his family, but to the Ken Block family, and then also to the Jeremy Renner family. A lot of stuff happened to people with a platform yesterday. Things that we watch every day as far as sports or maybe entertainment when it comes to movies, or even somebody like Ken Block, who pretty much he himself intrigued me into vehicles and things like that. So an icon of sorts. So just rest in peace. Thoughts and prayers to everybody involved. So
yeah, that's hope and pray that by the end of this week we have the greatest news that he's awake.
Yep.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that.
And the last thing that I've got let me actually just turn on the music for this one real quick. The last thing that I've got that's, I think, also very important for just the mindset of everyone is, we just kind of talked about 3 different things that's already happened. We're 3 days into the new year. Don't let this ruin the year for you. We got a long year ahead. Let's just keep the good vibes coming. All right, for everyone that's involved, family, friends, loved ones, for all these people. But let's not have it mentally in our head that this year is just going to completely suck. Let's stay positive. This is going to be a great year. Well, let's just all focus on good vibes, on making this for a great year. Because the thing is, like these people that are going through this and going through everything they're going through, including the ones who actually went through it, like Jeremy and Damar, but then also their loved ones. I guarantee you, they're going to have the same mindset. Is like, we're not going to let this define this year. Like, let's just focus on having the best year. Let's send the good vibes possible for the entire year. Like, I get it. We're 3 days in, so I've already seen a lot of jokes on Twitter. It's like, oh, well, this year's fucked. I've already seen a lot of jokes. No, let's reel that back in, boys. Let's focus on having a good year, because I promise you that even Jeremy and Damar is going to have that part of that same mindset that, hey, let's just make this a good year. I know this happened at the start. This sucks, but let's focus on having a good year. And I feel like that's what we all need to do. I'll play the music again, so we can actually get out of here. If you watched all the way through this or listened all the way through this, we appreciate the hell out of you. Again, we just think that this is the best way to focus on the show. Like I said, next week we'll be hopefully back in action, which was a lot of big stuff happening over this weekend. We got the national championship on Monday, right? Should be Monday, yeah. FCS championship on Sunday.
Correct.
So next week should be a pretty fiery one. A lot to chat about. Next week, Jacob, I'll let you talk if you need to. Let you have some more process. Some time to talk. But that's next week. This week, let's focus on good vibes only. Do we want to do the group outro or no? How are we feeling about it?
I'm down with it.
Because I'm feeling no. I'm feeling no personally.
I'm feeling no as well.
I'm feeling
let's
no.
just end the show.
All right. I'm feeling no as well. I'm feeling no. All right. Thank you so much for listening to Terrible Football Show, everyone. We'll be back next week, chat about a lot of things going on, hopefully have all the best news possible. And again, make sure to check out the GoFundMe. Until next time, guys, have a great one. See you.